2:21. There's a new Morgan Spurlock film. What a
There's a
treat!
new Morgan Spurlock.
Well, there is. How
New
you
and
doing,
improved.
Morgan? Yeah, it's very good to see you again. How are you?
Good to be back. Yeah, thanks.
And there aren't many guests who come in with advertising on their jacket, handing out drinks as they go.
Yeah, delicious 100% pomegranate juice at that.
So, Clint, now you got into trouble. You just say you got into trouble when you're on the TV.
I went on the breakfast show yesterday, and they wouldn't let me wear my the greatest jacket ever worn.
Which is what you basically you're wearing a jacket with
like
the name of every one of your sponsors.
All the sponsors, if a Formula One racer went to prom, like this would be his jacket, this kind of Ted Baker jacket. So I went on, and they said you can't wear the jacket, and so I said okay, fine. And so while I'm on there, I start talking about the movie, and the actual title of the movie is Palm Wonderful Presents the Greatest Movie Ever Sold. Like we sold the above the title naming rights to Palm. So in the middle of the interview, I pull a palm out of my pocket and start drinking, and they're like, "You can't do that. This is the BBC. Oh, put that away."
Well, you are breaking. Absolutely, it's going to break all the rules, but we're going to get away with it, and we won't need to go on a course or apologise because it's integral to the discussing the plot of the movie.
Hold on, let me get a sip of palm real quick. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
You must be sick to death of pomegranate juice. I prefer grapefruit.
I like grapefruit. They wouldn't sponsor the film though, so they're not the greatest beverage. But you're
gonna end up back in those burger days where actually you can only eat McDonald's, and now you're going to be only drinking. You're going to turn into a pomegranate.
That's right, exactly. Any day now.
Did you ask McDonald's to sponsor you?
Well, we had to. Like the goal behind the film was I wanted to make a documentary blockbuster, a docbuster, and you can't make a blockbuster film without having a fast food partner. So I called McDonald's. Of course, they never called back. I called over and over. Funny. That's so strange, shocking. And I left 10, 15 messages every week. I would call and I'd say, "Hey, it's me again. I promise it'll be different this time. Call me back." Never heard from him. Burger King did call back, said no. Taco Bell said no. KFC said no, all the way down the line. I was like, come on, not one of you guys want to step forward and be the greatest fast food partner of the greatest movie ever sold?
We should explain to those who don't know. So the story is you've made a documentary called The Greatest Movie Ever Sold, which is a documentary about product placement in movies, and you decided to finance it entirely through product placement in your movie. So it's a postmodern joke.
That's right.
In that it is a sponsored movie about movie sponsorship.
That's right. And it pulls the curtain back on the whole process, shows you how it's done, the negotiations that happen, the influence that these companies ultimately end up having over the creative process, and and it's fun. It's a fun movie.
So did you set out trying to make a point and being angry about it, or were you just trying to make us laugh?
I think, hopefully while I'm making you laugh, I'm also making you think a little bit. I'm a real believer that one will lead to the other, so... I think both of those happen.
Tell us in your opinion, the most appalling cases of product placement that
not in your movie,
not in my movie. Well, because my film
movie is awash with it.
My film, we were just awarded from the Guinness Book of World Records, the Guinness Book of World Record for the most product placement in a movie in the history of movies. So,
is that right?
That's true. Yes.
Wow.
Who's to know that there was a category?
That's right, exactly.
Okay, but
Michael Bay knew that. Michael Bay knew there was a category. Now we've beaten him.
Yeah, now he'll be cross. Good, there we go. You've annoyed Michael Bay.
Take that, Michael Bay.
There we go.
Take
Suddenly
that.
there is a value to life.
We mentioned before, in fact, Mark was talking about it earlier, the horrendous James Bond Omega watch.
Yeah, it's in the
sequence.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that where she goes all the way down to the perfection of the watch? Rolex?
No, Omega, yeah.
Omega.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought that must be relevant to the plot somewhere. That's going to... And no, it wasn't.
No.
I mean, it was...
Well, the new film is a $150 million movie, the new James Bond film that they're shooting right now, of which $50 million of that budget is being paid for by product placement. A third of the budget, which is kind of amazing.
So what people will see when they see, right at the beginning of the film is you go to companies, that's what they do. They do product placement.
That's right.
But they didn't want to touch you.
It's a huge business in the United States, and now is spreading around the world. In the U.S., it's a $3 to $4 billion a year business now. In the next 3 years, it will quadruple, and it will become a $13 to $14 billion business. I mean, it's massive.
So what is it that you wanted from them?
Well, first I went to ad agencies, because if you wanted to get brands involved with anything, you go to the agencies. They kind of have the keys to the kingdom, and only one advertising agency in the entire United States would even help us, an agency out of New York called Kirschenbaum and Bond. But no, agencies were scared to death of the film. So then we started
because they thought you were going to do a hatchet job. And
I think that the last thing they want to do, advertising by itself is a manipulation and also is a lie. That's the inherent nature of what advertising and marketing is. And so the last thing they want to do is start to pull the curtain back on that process. And so, but Kirschenbaum thought it would be great to kind of be on the inside of this joke, of this kind of living joke. And so then we started calling the product placement companies themselves, of which there are hundreds of these companies in the United States that do nothing but put products in movies for brands. And only none of them would help either, and only 2 of them would even go on camera to do interviews for the film.
But presumably they won't help because the idea is they don't want, the whole key to product placement is they don't want you to know it's happening.
That's
so
right.
The idea is I just happen to be mentioning this fabulous watch that I happen to be wearing. It's not that that it was not a ka-ching moment. There was $10 million involved.
Yeah.
As Brett
just by chance.
Yeah,
it just happened by chance.
Let's just play a clip from the film. Here it is.
How much money did it take to do this?
1.5 million.
Okay.
I think that you're going to have a hard time meeting with them, but I think it's certainly worth pursuing a couple of really big, obvious brands.
Who knows? Maybe by the time your film comes out, we look like a bunch of blithering idiots.
What do you think the response is going to be?
The responses mostly will be no.
But is the toughest sell because of the film or is the toughest sell because of me?
Both.
Meaning, not so optimistic. So can you help me? I need help.
I can help.
Okay. Good. Awesome.
We got to figure out which brands.
Yeah.
That's the challenge.
When you look at like the people you deal with,
We've got some places we can go.
Okay.
Turn the camera off.
I thought turn the camera off meant let's have an off-the-record conversation. Turns out it really means we want nothing to do with your movie.
Which is kind of what you need to start the premise, isn't it? Being turned down, because if they all accepted you straight away, that would have been a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, and what you don't see in the rejection was, when we first started cold calling the agencies and then the product placement companies, we then said, you know what, let's call the brands ourselves. Let's kind of control our own destiny, start calling the companies. We started calling companies in January of 2009. The first company that you see come on in the film, which is Band Deodorant, the time lapse of when we first started calling to somebody saying yes was 9 months. So it was 9 months of cold calls and rejection. We called 650 companies, and ultimately 15 said yes. So it was massive.
And you explain, I mean, just very briefly, right at the beginning, but it's an interesting point, the fact that this matters and product placement is such a big business because no one bothers with ads. I mean, and on television, and we just fast forward. We don't sit around and sit through the ad break anymore.
That's right. And it seems like everywhere you look these days, something is brought to you by some sponsor, whether it's a sporting event or a stadium or teams themselves or concerts, talks, everything now has some sort of corporate underwriter.
And is that right or wrong?
Yes.
Is it wrong?
I think that I think that we live in a world now where we all want something for nothing. We have kind of been given this idea that things should be for free, and with that comes the price of it will be brought to you by someone if you want to pay nothing for it. The thing that's also happened where you look at like sporting events or concerts of that nature where they're brought to you by these gigantic sponsors or stadiums now have their names on them. None of those savings are ever passed down to us, or even sponsorship in movies. The only people who are benefiting from this are the producers themselves, the studios themselves. The ticket prices don't suddenly get cut in half. When I go see a concert or a sporting event, I'm not benefiting from Etihad or anyone else underwriting the stadium. We don't get that.
But will it make a difference in terms of how much money your movie makes? Is any of that money going? That's not going back to your sponsors, is it? I mean,
no.
That's
no. This is the film from the minute we finished it was in profit, which is remarkable. Probably first time ever
on the basis of the sponsorship.
Yeah, because
it cost less than you raised.
Well, because they paid for the whole movie. The entire budget of the film was paid for by sponsors. So from the minute the movie was done and we sold it and it went out into theaters, any penny that comes back now is profit.
And they didn't. And there was a discussion in the film about whether at one point you get a letter from one of your sponsors saying that they want final cut.
All of them wanted final cut of the film, like they all wanted final approval, which we continued to push back for months and months and months, and ultimately we got it. When you go into negotiations like that, and I spoke yesterday at the BFI, and people were saying, well, how did you end up getting final cut of the movie? And when you go into a negotiation, especially with brands like this, you need to go in knowing what you're going to give up. And we were willing to give up multiple things, within the film, things that they wanted, so certain placements they would get, certain conversations or things that they would get. But final cut being the one, my dignity went. That was the first to go. No, that was the very first thing on the chopping block.
In the bath with a horse.
That's right.
Do you want to explain that?
Oh yeah. Well, there's a a shampoo. The official shampoo of The Greatest Movie Ever Sold, the greatest shampoo you'll ever use, is a shampoo called Mane and Tail.
And it's real. It's a real thing.
It's a real
really
product.
Is.
When we were first making the film, I said we should go look. We should just do a walk through a grocery store, a pharmacy, and see what products are there, and make a list and call those brands. And so I was wandering through this pharmacy in New York City, mind you. It wasn't in the middle. It wasn't in the sticks. It wasn't in the country. And I found a shampoo called Mane and Tail. And Mane and Tail is a real shampoo that is for both horses and people. That's right. So
it's a very specific demographic,
right.
Isn't it? It's like that thing in Kentucky Fried Movie about
shower with your horse.
It's a cream, it's a floor cleaner, it's a cream and a floor cleaner. It will shower both you and your
If you
horse.
happen to find yourself in a tub with a horse, why have two shampoos?
Exactly.
Why not one for both of us? That's the whole thing.
Save yourself so much time and money.
Time and money. Yeah.
Was it good?
It's the greatest. Look at the sheen on this.
Are you still using
on this
it?
mane?
Are you still using it?
I'm using
Hand on heart.
No, I'm using it as much. I've never seen a bald horse, and so seeing as how I'm losing my hair, I'm hoping that with Mane and Tail will come a rejuvenation of my inner stallion.
Is that what you're claiming?
I'm using it. It's just not helping the stallion-like qualities of my mane.
Are you claiming it's got hair restorative properties?
I hope so. Have you seen a bald horse? Just throwing that out there.
Okay.
So actually, yes, but I don't know that the horse used hair and mane. So,
Mane and tail.
Mane and tail.
Yeah.
Hair and mane. Sounds like an address.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Kermode and Mayo's film review.
Morgan Spurlock is here because he has delivered the greatest movie ever sold, although that is not its full name, but the full name obviously has the brand name, which you sold for how much?
$1 million
for the above the
Palm Wonderful, which is a pomegranate juice company in the United States, paid $1 million for the above the title naming rights.
So what do you have to deliver? Are there
benchmarks?
Yeah, so that it's reported that you have to sell 500,000 DVDs and downloads, generate 600 million media impressions. The movie has to gross $10 million at the box office. That's what they want for their money.
To get the full amount. You know, we were given $500,000 up front, on signing, another $100,000 to produce the commercial that actually airs in the film. They're one of 3 brands that came on that part of their investment was they got 30-second commercials actually within the movie. And then the other $400,000 is tied to those benchmarks. Yeah, 600 million media impressions, 250 screens worldwide, 500,000 downloads and DVDs, and then $10 million at the box office.
Did you? Sorry, Mark.
So I was going to say, are you going to hit $10 million at the box office?
We are. I doubt it. I mean, I think if we're fortunate, we'll probably hit. I mean, I think we're right now with all the territories added up. We're like 1 point something, and we haven't opened in most of the rest of the world. So I think we'll end up being close to 3. Or just over 3, which means we won't get the full $10 million, but we'll probably end up maybe getting about $900 and some thousand.
Who were the directors who you spoke to?
In the film, we speak to Brett Ratner, who did
the
Rush
mighty
Hour.
Brett Ratner.
Brett Ratner did the original, Rush Hour and the original X-Men. We spoke to J.J. Abrams, Quentin Tarantino, and Peter Berg.
And what's their attitude to product placement?
They were all very different. Brett Ratner, who is someone who opens it with open arms, knowing that he's going to get automobiles or money or whatever will help him kind of offset the budget costs. Peter Berg is a realist, I think, of the most realist of all of them. Who Peter is like, listen, this is a business, and I'm making a movie for GE, and they don't care about art. They want to know they're getting their money back. Period. That's the biggest thing. He was in the process of getting ready to direct the $200 million Battleship movie, Battleship based upon the board game B-19 miss, B-8 hit. They turned that into a movie.
Really, I mean that's a paper and pen game.
Yeah, I know.
Play on long journeys with your dad. That's
right.
what that was.
Yeah,
you draw the grid with a ruler.
No. That's a multi-million-dollar movie.
Yeah. Well, Ridley Scott's company have optioned the rights to Monopoly, the movie. So
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of all the other little pen and paper games that you play, like Hangman.
Yeah.
Which
that sounds like a movie. Sounds like a western.
That could be.
I think
that's a great western right there.
Rock paper scissors. that would be great, wouldn't it? In 3D.
But that sounds better as a musical though. Rock paper scissors
is very
musical.
good. Very
Noughts
good.
and crosses. Would that make a movie?
What is it?
Well, that's the way you call it.
Yeah, you could put it on a double bill with chess in the West End.
That sounds like a bit of like a like a softcore movie. Tic Tac.
Is that right?
It does. To me, it does.